Thanks for listening to the Tim Fletcher Show, presented to you each and every day by Regional Urology. You know, it wasn't that long ago when I was low T Timmy, dragging, couldn't find the energy, wanted to just sit on the couch and watch football all day, which actually that's not a bad thing to do when you think about it. But there was life to be led. I needed to grab life by the horns. Thankfully, a trip to Regional Urology diagnosed me with low testosterone. Guys, it happens. After you hit the age of 30, you lose a little testosterone, some more than others, me more than others. Well, now, thanks to Regional Urology, I've gone from low T Timmy to mid T Timmy. I went jogging the other night. Me, jogging, and I wasn't even chasing an ice cream truck. Regional Urology, 683-0411. 683-0411. Regional Urology, Eastburg Coons at I-49. Don't be low T Timmy any longer. Yes, indeed, it is the Tim Fletcher Show here on 1130 The Tiger, your 50,000-watt Hadron Collider of sports, bringing you atom smashing like it's never been smashed before. Ain't no smashing like an atom smashing, because an atom smashing doesn't stop. We are brought to you live and in person every single day by the good folks over at Rotolo's, the official pizza of the New Orleans Saints. Tomorrow is $5.99 Calzone Day, correct? Tomorrow's Wednesday, I believe. Today is $3 craft beer day, $3 bottled beer day. Tomorrow is $3 draft beer day, $3 bottled beer day. And I believe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday are all $3 draft beer, $3 craft beer. And yes, it is time to throw your hands in the air like you just don't care. Fat Tire is now at Rotolo's, the world's greatest beverage outside of our wonderful Abita friends from South Louisiana. The New Belgium Brewing Company has ventured into Louisiana, and they have some of their products flowing out of the taps at Rotolo's on East 70th, near the East 70th and Fern Avenue Exchange. Try the sweep the floor cheese sticks. They are le bon. Me likey the Rotolo's so many much. And now that they have Fat Tire, I may never leave. Speaking of never leaving, thought this guy would never leave, but he left. He's now in a new state, no longer in Shreveport, but we certainly remember him fondly here. Bunkie Perkins joins us on the show. Good morning, Bunkie.
Well, that's huge news about Fat Tire. I may have to move back just for that.
You know, how long has it been? You know, it stops at Wascom. I would have to have
across the border.
Couldn't cross the border, and we just wouldn't make it to Greenwood. But now I think the folks from New Belgium are going to be amazed at how much beer is drank in the state of Louisiana.
No doubt. I was tired of the bootlegging run, so I'm glad that
I had buddies. I used to work with a guy that would go down to Austin and, had relatives down there, and every time he would go, he knew that he needed to bring me back a 12-pack of Fat Tire, and he goes, man, I know one of these days I'm going to get stopped right in Greenwood, and I'm going to get busted for this. I said, I don't think they're going to bust you for bringing a 12-pack of Fat Tire. But then there would be that part of me that would wonder, oh, geez, if he goes to jail for Fat Tire, I'm going to feel really bad, especially if I don't ever get the Fat Tire, because they might confiscate it,
There guys in prison for less. So
well, you would know.
I'd be okay with that.
You would know. Where did you graduate law school from?
The fine University of Mississippi, where apparently they pass out degrees with supersized meal.
That's nice, because it's obvious they have supersized meals, because the governor says, we ain't going to do anything like that, Mayor Bloomberg. We're going to supersize everything in Mississippi. You want soda pops? We got you soda pops. Biggins.
You got to dance with the girl that brung you.
Yes.
So
if you're already the most obese state, why would you want to stop?
We're going to go out with both diabetic guns blazing.
Get your insulin pump ready, as I believe T.O. once said. Bunkie, you join us here. We're going to talk a little Ole Miss in just a second. Now, because I know it's near and dear to your heart. But last night on Raw, it appears that somebody put the punk in CM Punk. What exactly took place with Paul Bearer's urn of ashes? Surely they did not dump Paul Bearer's ashes onto the Undertaker last night. That had to be a joke, right? It was April Fool's.
Well, let me qualify this by saying first, I don't watch this on the reg, but it's WrestleMania week, so you gotta watch. You gotta pick up where you left off a year ago, just so you can get the pay-per-view. And last night, I witnessed young CM Punk dumping what looked like I don't know, it looked like Lubbock onto The Undertaker. It was some sort of dirt. It was supposed to be Paul Bearer, God rest his soul, who died recently. So, the crowd was none too pleased with the desecration of one Percy Pringle's ashes.
You know, when I look at the WWE,
yeah, I guess.
WWE, when you look at what's coming up with WrestleMania, there's no way that this was a staged event to drum up interest for WWE, is there?
No, that's completely legitimate, and I don't even know why you would bring that up.
Well, I apologize. You know, there's just this part of me that kind of wonders. We just talked to Mike Thibodeau about the Ed Rush officiating scandal in the Pac-12, so now I'm kind of casting aspersion and looking at things through a little bit of a squinted eye, you know, like, I wonder if this is all on the uptake here. You know, so when you see CM Punk, I think he's a bad guy. He's a bad dude, right? We don't like CM Punk.
Well, you know, the WWE now deals in shades of gray. And so, you know, he is a bad guy, yes, but he's kind of that Steve Austin bad guy where you don't mind liking him. So, you know, technically, yes, I guess he would be a bad guy if you want to look at it in black and white terms. But he's kind of an anti-hero at best.
He is the Les Miles for you.
For me, certainly. Okay,
where you can't help but like him, but you also don't want to like him, and he also deals with ashes and dirt and grass. So it all kind of coincides that CM Punk may be the Les Miles of the WWE. Now, The Rock is going to be involved in WrestleMania, correct?
I guess.
Okay. Is he not just a little too pretty to be a wrestler nowadays? I mean,
well, you know, here's the problem. Like, he only shows up where he's got movies to promote. And I think he's got, like, out 3 right now. You know, you go G.I. Joe, and then that the Marky Mark movie, and then the one that was filmed in Shreveport with Susan Sarandon. I can't remember the name of that one either. But he's got all 3 of those, and so he's got to put butts in seats. And so I guess the only way he can really do that is to show up for about 6 months on WWE. It was terrible about all this. Like, they don't want to make either guy look bad because at the end of the day, he was wrestling John Cena, who most people can't stand anyway. But you know, they don't want to make either of them look really bad. So, you know, when The Rock leaves to go make another Disney movie, you know, John Cena will be there to clear it.
Hey, isn't there another Escape from Witch Mountain that has to be made, I believe, and that may be made in Shreveport?
Isn't there like a Tooth Fairy with Muscles 2 coming out?
I think there's a Tooth Fairy with Muscles 2. And let me guess, in this one, The Rock plays an aging NBA star who finds out that he's got a child.
Right, and at the beginning, he wasn't very accepting, but he grew to love the child.
Grew to love the child after the child almost got into a war with North Korea.
Well, and at the end of the day, you know, the two realize that they both need each other.
Yes.
Which is kind of like North and South Korea.
He needed the direction that she provides him, and she needs a father.
It's a love story.
It is a love story. It's a love story that has never been told on the Hollywood screen. What are you looking for from WrestleMania? What is the big event that, you know, wrestling fans are kind of jacked up about? Not the, you know, pretend stuff with Rock, maybe not the CM Punk and Undertaker, you know, kind of grudge match that I assume will take place. What is the big ticket for WrestleMania coming up this Saturday?
Well, I mean, if I'm working for WWE, I am promoting the fact that P. Diddy will be the master of ceremonies and be performing at WrestleMania.
Wow! Now you've got Ed Hardy's attention over here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's 1995 all over again. for WrestleMania. But other than that, I would think The Rock, Cena, and then of course CM Punk and The Undertaker, who is defending the greatest streak in American sports history. The 20-0 WrestleMania win streak is on the line.
Wow. Now that rivals, and I found this out just by happenstance this week, by following Ray Ratteau, one of the most curmudgeonly sports writers on the face of the earth, who is absolutely funny as can be. Did you know, speaking of winning streaks, that the Globetrotters' 1,276-game winning streak was snapped in 2001 by... Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? Hazard a guess? Fire away there, Chris D.
Generals?
Wrong.
Oh.
Ed Hardy?
I'm going to go the Puerto Rican national team.
Puerto Rican national team, close, by Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans.
Wow, the Globetrotters went legit?
The Globetrotters went legit for a 3-game series where they played the defending national champions of D3, D2, and D1. And they beat the D2 team, and they beat another Division I team, and they got beat by Michigan State by 4 points. Stopped a 1,200. That's pretty. Tom Izzo saying, "I'm not going to take your bucket full of confetti around here, brother. We don't play like that.
All the poor
you
children.
can put that string on the basketball and bring it right back there, Geese Osby, but not in my house. Not in the house of Matane Cleaves. No, sir. No, sir, Reedy Deedy." So we got big streaks on the.
Is rolling over in his grave.
You're probably right. Who are the Funkadactyls, by the way? Am I for the Funkadactyls or the Bella Twins?
You know, I don't think you're for either. I watched this last night, and you know, it's big fat guys in like 1980s LL Cool J jumpsuits with like the Kangol hats.
Saw them in Monticello, Arkansas this weekend. Yes.
Yeah, fat guys dancing.
Yes.
But I think the guy you want to follow if you're into dancing, there's a guy on there named Fandango.
Fandango.
Yes, which is essentially like European Disco Inferno.
Ooh.
And so he comes out in like sequin pants, and he hasn't fought anybody yet because no one will say his name correctly. I appreciate that. I don't come on radio shows unless you get my name right.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff. So I assume you've already plunked down the 1999 for WrestleMania.
No, man, I'm cheap. I'm going stealing it from the internet.
That's the way to do it. You know, if you can't pirate it from the internet, is it even worth having?
Well, it's tough too because you got a simulcast on Sunday because not only do you have WrestleMania, but you got the return of Mad Men. So you got Draper on the big screen.
Oh, it's Sunday! Oh my gosh!
On the small screen.
And you are a Madman fan. I know that from your Twitter account. Wow! So it's a Sunday. Why is WrestleMania? Is that always on a Sunday? How come it's not on a Saturday? You'd think that would be a Saturday.
It's always when the pay-per-views are on a Sunday.
I don't quite understand that. I might need to talk to Vince about this marketing thing. He seems to not really grasp it.
Well, you know what the good thing is? I'm going to go ahead and propose this to you a year in advance. Next year's WrestleMania in the Superdome.
Oh, my. You bring WrestleMania to the Superdome. So this year, this April, it's the Women's Final Four. And next April, it's the equivalent with WrestleMania.
Well, I mean, I'd hate to disparage either event, but I'm going to say that a Tim Fletcher Show tailgate right in front of WrestleMania, with a cast of thousands. You know, we could bring back like some old Shreveport wrestlers. I'm sure Cowboy Bill Watts is available.
I've got his horseshoe singlet at home. So
there you go. I think that would be a great show.
Now that's now you've perked up the attention of our cohort in crime here, Ed Hardy. Favorite Mid-South wrestler of all time would be who?
Kamala.
I'm going to go Moondogs. Moondog Spot, Moondog Rex.
Yeah. Missing Link.
Missing Link. I remember the Missing Link. And of course, you guys know that a lot of the Mid-South wrestling was staged in the studio of Channel 3.
Really?
Yes. They would wrestle. Some of the Mid-South wrestling matches were literally in the studio at KTBS.
My first ever wrestling match in Hearst Coliseum, Missing Link versus One Man Gang.
That's a biggie. I could see why they hooked you. I mean, you had the hook set, and you were already flopping in the boat by the time you left there, weren't you?
I was an early convert.
Yeah, that's easy to see why. So we've got wrestling taken care of. Guys, we're going to take a timeout. Bunkie, can you hang on just for a second? We're going to take a timeout. We're going to hit Ole Miss and the mystery to me of what is Hugh Freeze doing in Oxford, Mississippi that is absolutely driving the recruits batty to where they've got to have some. They've got to be riding Mr. Freeze all the way to the top. We're going to talk Ole Miss football and maybe even Ole Miss hoops and Marshall Henderson with Ole Miss alum Bunkie Perkins. Right here on the Tim Fletcher Show. Ed Hardy in the house, Sid the Kid tweeting away for us. Our new text line, 318-GUY-PILE. Pile on all you want. Phone number 320-1130. This portion of the show brought to you by Cassio's Market Bistro, 2750 Shed Road, Bossier City, Louisiana. Rocky, the Italian Stallion, putting together three of the most incredible soups known to man. I'll have the soup du jour. Sounds delicious. You can also try the Cajun turkey melt, the roast beef melt, and Rocky's Italian dishes, all made with a teaspoonful of love. 742-3205 is the phone number. It'll be ready in 7 minutes once you place the order. 2750 Shed Road between Bossier City's Airline Drive and Bend Road. Cassio's Market Bistro, supporting the show. Yippee-yi-yay, son of a guns. Now this is WrestleMania music here.
Heck yeah, dude.
By the way, Lucky Jack texted in on the Guy Pile line that, come on, his Junkyard Dog is the best Mid-South wrestler.
Kabuki?
Little JYD. I was always a Cowboy Bill Watts fan.
The biggest letdown of my entire life was the Mid-South Wrestling, and the main event was going to be Von Erich versus Kamala. I was so excited. Well, Von Erich got caught some activities or whatever, so they brought the gentleman Chris Chambers. It was a big letdown. All Chambers did. I wanted to see the souffle and Von Erich did the he'd jump on you and he'd grab you by your neck, by your legs, and chunk you down. And Chambers tried it, but it just the gentleman.
Skandar Akbar.
Jim Cornette. And who was
Bunkie? Who's Jim Cornette? I don't remember Jim Cornette. Bunkie still there?
I'm still there, man.
All right. Who's Jim Cornette?
He was the manager of the Midnight Express.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
He had a tennis racket.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, this could. Have you guys heard about China? Speaking of non-Mid-South.
Oh, yeah, she's in the.
Well, she's out of the adult film business. I was listening on Stern. Yeah. You know what she's doing now?
Oh, yeah.
She's put out a series of tapes teaching English to the Japanese. And it is it sounds like she is acting in an adult film while teaching English to Japanese.
Well, like the Japanese are always into that freaky stuff, so that's probably.
She is right. Of all the countries for her to decide to teach English, there has to be a rhyme and a reason for China to be teaching English in a series of tapes that I assume she's probably not dressed in a dress from Talbot's while describing.
Is she like Godzilla because she's taller than all the Japanese?
She's a big woman.
Yeah.
She's a big woman.
Adam's apple would distract me.
Hello. Mic check. We're talking about Brittany Griner or are we talking about China? Which one?
Wow.
Which one are we talking about? I'm not sure where we went with that one. Bunkie Perkins joining us here on the Tim Fletcher Show, 320-1130. We've talked wrestling, and now let's talk a guy who would fit in wrestling, Marshall Henderson.
My boy.
Who would he be in the world of wrestling if there was somebody that is the Marshall Henderson of the WWE or Mid-South Wrestling? Who would that be?
That's a good question. I'm going to go old school. He's very flamboyant, very outspoken. I'm going to go with one of the Freebirds, Mr. Michael P.S. Hayes.
Oh, Michael P.S. Yeah. Best band act.
What's the PS stand for?
Well, what's the PS stand for there, Bunkie?
Pretty sexy.
You got that right. Got that right. So if Marshall Henderson, who I believe is coming back for another year, correct?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. If I was a betting man.
As long as the law allows, he will come back for another year.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Now, are you a Marshall Henderson guy? He's your boy, but does he represent the ideals of the University of Mississippi at Oxford?
Well, I always said from the outset that he is a moron, but he's our moron. So it's kind of like Les Miles. He's Les Miles, but he's our Les Miles. And the thing about it is, like, the reason that they were winning those games, Henderson could score, but he wasn't the reason they were winning. They had these two big guys down low that controlled the glass and got a lot of rebounds, and all they stayed out of foul trouble. We were actually a pretty legitimate basketball team. So, Henderson might have been like the sideshow, but next year those two guys are gone. So, if he thought he shot a lot this year, just wait for next year.
Do you think he received – we had Greg Howard from Deadspin who wrote a very interesting article sizing up Marshall Henderson and the treatment of Marshall Henderson by CBS in particular compared to, say, the national broadcast and national media treatment of Tyrann Mathieu, who was kicked off a team for smoking – as Greg Howard says, crappy pot, synthetic weed. And then you have Marshall Henderson, who's tested positive for, traces of cocaine, had the, counterfeit money used to buy pot. Do you buy that? Huh?
Legitimate business expense. I don't know what you're really saying there.
Do you think Marshall Henderson was treated differently because he was white compared to Tyrann Mathieu because he was black?
I guess you could look at it at that angle. I mean, he brought attention upon himself by the way he act, on the floor. He could, there have been a lot of guys who are gunners and great shooters, and he is a great shooter. It's just he has bad shot selection sometimes. But I think it was the way he portrayed himself and the way he built himself up. He opened himself up to a lot of criticism. I don't know that he wasn't, I know Tyrann Mathieu was vilified for what he did, but I think Marshall Henderson was on some level. There were a lot of guys like Doug Gottlieb and a lot of national media guys that beat him up and said, if he makes it into the tournament, it's ridiculous and this and that. So he took his lumps, I think, from a lot of the national media, and probably a lot of it was probably justified.
Now let's move to the football program. I think if there was such a thing as an upset on signing day, Bunkie Perkins joining us. You can follow him at Bunkie Perkins on Twitter. And now you have also hooked up with one of the funniest guys in all of the landscape of the Twitterverse and the interwebs, and Spencer Hall, and Every Day Should Be Saturday. I want to get into that with you in just a wee bit. But one of the biggest upsets of signing day was the fact that, lo and behold, who is it that charged into the top 10 in recruiting? Who is it landing 4- and 5-star recruits left and right but Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze?
We're paying everybody.
How did this happen?
We're paying everybody, writing checks. Writing checks. I think it was just kind of a perfect storm this year. It was great. Like, I was watching signing day. It's kind of like a guy watching one of his teammates throw a no-hitter. I just had the jacket over my head. Didn't want to say anything until it was all over with. It's just kind of a perfect storm. We had the number one recruit in the nation's brother played for us.
That helps.
And, it helps, but the fact that he actually played well also helped.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we won 7 games, it looked like we were coming from, the 2 and 3 win seasons that we had with Houston at the end of the year, or into those years, to like, we might actually be a legitimate football team, from here on out. That helped. And then when you get the number one recruit, a lot of times you can sway some of those other guys. We got Laramie Tunsil, who is a big offensive lineman. We also got Laquan Treadwell, who's the number one wide receiver. But his best friend was on the team at the time. So, we're not as jaded to think, we're just Ole Miss, and we just call them up, and they were like, we're definitely coming down there. We had a little help. Will it translate this next year? I don't know. The Ole Miss has a terrible football schedule next year. They open up with road games at Vandy, at Texas, at Auburn, and at Alabama. So, it's a rough start for Ole Miss. If they go win 7 games next year, I think that they hit an accomplishment. Because they A&M, LSU, they're all going to be good. Sadly, I don't think Arkansas is going to be that great. Sorry, Fletch.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But, they've got to build off of it. If they come and lay an egg and win 4 games next year, I don't know how great the recruiting class is going to be. So we'll see. But so far, so good. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
And by the way, that Kool-Aid is cooled off by, of course, Hugh Freeze, the Freeze Pop, coming through and taking care of business at Oxford. Now, when you look at the Egg Bowl and how Dan Mullen and Mississippi State have certainly been thumbing their nose at their Ole Miss brethren, How good does it feel to have a leg up on those guys?
That was definitely a demon exercising game this past year. I remember, we were in a similar situation a couple of years back, coming off of a couple of years of Ed Orgeron, who, I will defend Coach O probably more than most. He was hamstrung by a lot of things that were out of his control. One of those being that he couldn't coach. But that, beside the point, he was a very good recruiter and got a lot of good players in, and we had a couple of really bad years, and then Houston came in and took advantage of that. And that year, we beat Mississippi State 45-0, and it was possibly, you remember those old Evangel games, like when they were 1A back in the 90s, and they would play like teams that had 12 guys on the field.
Cotton Valley.
That's what it was like.
Yeah.
And it was very enjoyable. And so this past year, same kind of thing. We just came out and blew the doors off of them, which was highly enjoyable. And really, let's be honest, who's going to go to Starkville? Like out of all the places in the world you could go to school, if I said you have to go in the SEC, where would you go? Starkville, if it's not last, would be like right behind, I don't know, Missouri, maybe. I don't know. So...
Well, one thing when they signed Hugh Freeze, I mean, he said straight up to the press conference, kind of took people back. Said, "Look, I love Ed Orgeron. He taught me all I need to know about coaching, recruiting, and of course they brought Kiffin in too. So it was kind of the old guard coming back. And was that a hard pill to swallow for some Ole Miss faithful?"
Well, like when he said that, it kind of made you cringe a little bit, like, ooh, because we do remember a lot of horrific things that went on during the Ed Orgeron era. But I think the good thing about that is the AD had changed, which was a big, I know that that's kind of I don't know if cop out or not, but like it definitely changed the culture. They brought in a young guy named Ross Bjork from Western Kentucky who has a lot of vision and a lot of energy, and really, his history tells you he's not going to put up with a lot of stuff that probably Pete Booner, who's a former AD, would. So I think the culture change was more important than really anything else.
Well, speaking of culture change, there has been a culture change at the University of Arkansas, which is the university you are now physically closest to. It was one year ago.
And matrimonial closest to. My young wife is a Arkansas grad.
Really? Oh, by the way, congratulations on the betrothment there. That's good news. There is Now, did she work in the office with you? Was she? Did she have a boyfriend that was a swimming and diving coach?
She did not.
Did she? Does she have blonde hair?
She looks a lot like that girl. That's all blonde.
Well, isn't that interesting?
I'm glad I got her out of Fayetteville. I figured.
Well, keep her out of Hilltopper country for Pete's sake.
That's true. That's true.
Bobby Petrino has this look that 25-year-old hot blondes just can't get enough of.
It's called a fat wallet.
It's a big checking account. It's not quite as big now. It was just over a year ago, April Fools, last year, when really all this mess hit the fan with Bobby Petrino. And now he is in Western Kentucky. It still, to me, Bunkie, seems so odd. I remember watching live the press conference where Bobby Petrino comes in with a neck brace on and talks about how my wife told me, I was going to ride without a helmet, and she told me to go ahead and grab one of my two. So I had two helmets, two choices, and then blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, holy cow, this poor guy, he's lucky to be alive. Look at his face. What would he have been like? Oh, my gosh, poor Bobby. Yay, Bobby's okay. Yay, Tyler Wilson's going to win the Heisman. It's going to be great. Arkansas is going to be 12-0, baby. Bobby's battling back. Can't keep Bobby Petrino down. And then it all came crumbling. In your opinion, what really happened on the day Bobby Petrino picked up the gravel diet?
Okay, look. After it happened, I was actually in Fayetteville, and I was probably there 2 days after it happened, and I looked at my bride, and I said, we have to drive to Crosses, Arkansas, because I want to go look at the crash site. Because he said, I know this is a year gone, but these are important facts.
Yes, they are. This is like 48 hours going back and looking at the crime.
All right. You know, I watch a lot of CSI, so I figured I'd go out there and check out the crime scene.
Yes.
And so I go out there, and first of all, you know, in the police report, he said, you know, he was traveling west at around 6:30, and so, you know, and he was blinded or like...
Right, the sun got in his eyes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I went down to where he actually ran. First of all, it's not, while he is actually headed west on the road, he was actually pointed due north.
Uh-oh.
That road, all those points due north. So technically, the sun's not in his eyes. Okay, so let's just say, okay, well, maybe he looked over to his left and was blinded as he crashed. Well, there's about a 30-foot tree canopy around the road. And so it would be nearly impossible for the sun to be in his eyes. I'm not saying what made him crash, and I'm not even saying he crashed, because if you went out there and you look at where he actually crashed, there's like this really soft palette of sticks and gravel, which I know that doesn't sound very comfortable, but the alternative was like a cliff and rocks.
That's not a good place to be.
Yeah, but so if you drove in like 2 miles in either direction, there's no feature like that anywhere. So the fact that he found this one little soft spot in about a 5-mile radius, I'm not saying he faked it. I'm just saying he probably faked it.
Have we ever... Now, the motorcycle was damaged. We saw that.
Right.
How could he have staged that, CSI? How could he... I'm not saying I'm not purchasing what you're trying to sell me here. I am saying I'm looking at it in the checkout aisle, wondering whether or not I should add it to my purchases that are already on the conveyor belt.
I mean, it's a bill of goods, I understand. But I'm just saying that I was out there, I saw it. You know, the easiest way to explain the motorcycle damage is, okay, you just push it off the cliff. You know, so it could happen. I saw some skid marks. I don't know.
What about the Northwest Arkansas forensics DNA? I want to see Darrell's ex-fiance, Josh Morgan. I want to see there's some DNA in Petrino's blood from the
scrape his
pounding
knuckles.
he took.
Yes.
Well, that was the rumor, is that this guy and his buddies found him and beat him up, which was more as logical an explanation as Bobby Petrino was selling.
But
honestly, how many swimming and diving people does it take to beat up Bobby Petrino?
But think about it. It's like you, Fletch. Like, would you beat him up? I mean, let's just not gonna say your wife now, but let's say back in the day, that's like your icon. Like you're. I mean, it's the coach. It's the coach, man. Do you beat the coach up if he's messing around, or do you?
Yes, if you're the swimming and diving coach.
Arkansas.
But still,
it's Arkansas.
And what you got to do at the end of it, you take off your Speedo and you wrap it on his head. And you go, remember this. And then you leave him there with a rubber Speedo on top of his head, bloodied and battered.
Your brain.
And while you're walking away naked from him. Huh?
You would have dressed him in a Speedo and made him walk home.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Explain that one.
Explain that one to Mrs. Petrino.
Yeah.
Well, she's probably
what the great thing about what happened, yesterday was the year anniversary and all that stuff. About midday yesterday, Western Kentucky announces a press conference. Do you think that Bobby Petrino got a little gun shy? Like he started having flashbacks and like pulling like he's like Ed Norton from Fight Club. He just starts throwing himself off stairs and punching himself, like going into the old routine. It's like, I got to make it look good.
If he shows up at the press conference yesterday, or if he had shown up with a neck brace on, that would have been the best April Fool's joke of all time.
I am Jack's self-preservation.
Yes. Bunkie Perkins joining us here, guys. Bunkie, I believe you're going to be in town this week, right?
I will. I am coming in town for a good friend's wedding. Shreveport legend Bob McElhatton is getting married, so I'm coming to partake in the festivities. So I will be in town. So very good. Hopefully we will be able to grab you in studio here on Friday and have a little more fun with Bunkie Perkins. You can follow him on Twitter. Real quick, what's the deal with you and Spencer Hall? What's that hookup about? Well, I'm writing over at Every Day Should Be Saturday. That's EDSBS.com. Of course, I used to do friendsoftheprogram.net and the locally popular As Seen in Shreveport. But now I'm just writing over at EDSBS, and then we're on Twitter at Bunkie Perkins. That's the way to do it. Well, our best to you, man, and we will see you probably later on this week. All right, boys.
All right, thanks a lot. Bunkie Perkins joining us here on the program, guys. Going to take a quick call from Vern before we head to the timeout.